Yeah, hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank I am playing is the Valentine 2. This is a Russian Tier 4 light tank, and the map is Abbey. Now, even though this is a Russian tank, it is manufactured by the British military. It is in the Russian tech tree. There are other Valentine tanks that you're going to find elsewhere in the tech tree. I am going to get 5 kills in this game. I do like this tank. If I'm not going to say it's the best Tier 4 premium tank, but I'm glad that I bought it. Now watch what happens here. I'm going to pause the game. First of all, you're going to notice that there's a lot of light tanks in this game. In fact, most of the players are light tanks. And you're going to see that a lot of us did go to the west side. Where I am on the mini-map, there's actually 2 tanks behind me. And very few people went to the east side. This is going to actually, besides the fact that I'm going to get 5 kills in this game, this is going to be a very interesting game. I think I'm going to be the last tank in this game, and I don't remember if I win or not, but it was really close down. Oh, okay, I remember what's going to happen. Now, what I'm going to point out right now is you see that in the center at the Abbey, there was a tank that was spotted, the Panzer 1C. And I do have shots on him. In fact, I am going to shoot at him. I don't know if I'm going to do damage to him at this point. We're going to have to watch the replay. I played this game a few days ago. You're also going to notice that these tanks behind me are all pushing me. Even though there is room to go around me, they are on my butt, and they were not happy. It became a confusing point, because what happened was I wanted to shoot at these tanks behind me, but they wanted to keep on driving forward. So they were pushing me, and I was hitting the brakes. And they wrote, a derogatory message to me in the chat about the fact that they wanted me to move, even though they could go around me. There's plenty of room for them to go around me. But essentially, what's going to happen is the entire enemy team, or a large portion of the enemy team, is going to end up in the Abbey, which is in the central area. And where we are going right now is actually in the wrong direction. So let's continue watching. You'll notice that I'm hitting the brakes to try and prevent this guy from pushing me up the road. And you can see he says, "Move, idiot," is what he put in the chat. So they're unaware of what's going on. We have too many tanks on the east side, and if you continue to watch the minimap... Okay, what just happened right there was because of he was trying to push me. Let's rewind. As I started moving forward, he was pushing me, and he spun my tank. See, I'm shooting here at the tanks in the Abbey, but he's going to spin my tank around as I'm trying to go up. Watch what he does. He pushes my tank and he starts to spin it around. Okay, so we continue on, and if you look at the mini-map right now, you can see that there are a lot of enemy tanks in the center area of the mini-map. And I realize that this is going on. I mean, it's obvious that the enemy team decided to occupy the Abbey area, so we have to set up to fight the team in that area. And you'll notice that the tanks that were pushing me have just continued on. They did not notice, they were not aware of what's going on. And that is that the enemy is not going to be on the west side. They're going to be in the central area. It's very difficult to snipe on the center area. We are going to have some successful shots. I believe it's going to be me and the tank next to me. And as you can see now, they are moving. The enemy team is now aggressing towards our base. And we have allies actually that are moving towards their base also. Now, one thing that I am doing is I am using the auto-aim. And the auto-aim has to do with the distance. As you can see, he is... What's the distance? It's not showing me the distance. Okay, it won't show me the distance for some reason. Oh, there it is. Okay. 309 meters. He's a little bit far, but he's going slow. As long as he goes slow and he's not too far and the ammo has a high velocity, you can use the auto aim. And I'm going to switch in this game. Sometimes I'm going to use the auto aim, and sometimes I'm going to aim manually to hit those tanks. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is that we're not in the bushes. We're behind the bushes. Being behind the bushes means that they're not going to spot us. If you look on the mini-map, you're going to see that there's a green circle, which is my spotting distance. And because of the tier that we're in, Tier 4, and I have actually a really good spotting distance, if I'm outside of their green circle, we don't know what their green circles are, but as long as I'm outside of their green circle, they're not going to spot me. And if you're outside of their white circle, it's impossible for them to spot you. So if they're beyond your white circle, you're beyond their white circle. So one of the tricks you can use if you're out in the open is make sure that the tanks are outside of that white circle, which is not going to happen in this game. So let's move on. Now you can see I'm also using regular rounds, and in this game I had to make a lot of decisions in regards to regular rounds, premium rounds, the gold rounds, and the high explosive rounds. When you are shooting at tanks that are further away, you lose some of your penetration. So in those cases, and that's with the regular and the APCR. With the high explosive rounds, they do not lose penetration over the distance. So sometimes when a tank is further away, you want to switch to the high explosive rounds, or if they're in a higher tier. You can see that I'm not penetrating his armor, and if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that I switched to the APCR rounds.
We didn't even scratch them. We didn't even scratch them. Ricochet. Penetration. That one bounced.
I probably fired 5 or 6 shots at him, and only one of them penetrated.
See the target.
Now, in that case, I shot manually. He was moving too fast. I used the APCR rounds, which was completely unnecessary. It's a waste of rounds against the M5A1 because it has less armor than the Tiger tank. So ideally, you want to switch to the high explosive rounds or the regular rounds.
Target acquired. Enemy is hit.
And you can see in this case, I did switch to the regular rounds.
Target unlocked. We didn't penetrate their armor. Target acquired. Target unlocked.
Now, I shot manually, and as he started driving towards me, I used the auto aim. It's better to use the auto aim when the enemy tanks are coming towards you or away from you, and then shoot manually when they go laterally or side to side.
Target acquired. We didn't even scratch them.
You'll notice I'm not getting penetrations. The M3 Lee actually has really good armor, and you can see at the bottom I'm switching to the high explosive rounds. Now, all of this talk about ammunition is very important in this game.
We didn't even scratch them. We didn't even scratch them. We didn't even scratch them.
Now, I didn't notice, in regards to being spotted, I must have been spotted because someone is shooting at me. And it's possible that there is a tank that's very close. I didn't see if the Sixth Sense went on or not. If you rewind the replay, perhaps you'll see if it went on. But I do believe that there is a tank that is near us that perhaps we tried to kill and we did not. And it's going to teach you a lesson that you will hear me say over and over again. It's very, very, very important to kill spotters as quickly as possible at the beginning of the game. If they don't spot you, no one will shoot at you. And if they do spot you, it makes you very vulnerable.
Penetration. That one didn't go through. Enemy armor is hit. Enemy is hit. Enemy vehicle is hit.
So I have been using the APCR rounds, and now we've got, I believe, I seem to recall that they were far ahead of us. and that we kind of evened up the score, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry that I wasn't keeping track. But right now we're in the situation where I know where there's one tank, which is to my left. There might be another tank to my right. I've got 2 kills.
Ready to fire.
Fortunate enough to find another tank.
Penetration. Where'd they go? Ready to fire. Enemy armor is damaged.
Now this Chiha made a critical mistake. He probably ran for cover when he was assaulting. He ran for cover into that low area where the LTP is, where he's driving out of. And unfortunately, the LTP went after him. And now he's out in the open, and he's basically going to die. And you'll also note that I did switch to the regular rounds.
Where'd they go? Enemy vehicle destroyed.
So I do have 3 kills now. And obviously they are capping us. Or someone drove over the cap. Now, one of the things you're going to hear me say in a lot of videos, don't go on the cap unless you plan on capping. Because he did that, he alerted me and the rest of my team to the fact that he is at the cap. And our Artie. So now our Artie knows that there is a tank near him. And because he did that, I was able to locate him. If he hadn't done that, I would not have known where he was.
Target unlocked.
So stay off the cap. Excuse me. You can see the score is 11-10, so we are 1 up.
Target acquired. Target released. Target acquired.
Now, at this point in the game, I noticed that there is a Matilda. And when I saw the Matilda, that's when I knew that I was in trouble. I do own the Matilda. I think it's a wonderful tank. Is that a Matilda 4? No, it's a Tier 4 Matilda. I knew that that was going to be trouble. And I'm going to definitely be right about that. Now, at this point, I was really concerned, and I thought, I don't know what to do.
Critical hit. Enemy is hit. Ready to fire.
You'll notice I switched to the auto aim.
Enemy armor is damaged. Got him.
Okay, so that's 4 kills. Now, there is artillery on the enemy team, so I was spotted. Therefore, the artillery knows where I am, and I can't sit here without the risk of artillery firing at me. So I have to move to a different location. And it's very difficult. As I said, I was starting to get worried in this game. You can see that there's only 2 of us left. And he's on full health. It's a Panzer B2. And my tank is a moderate speed tank. So I was a little bit worried, you know, what should I do? Should I defend my cap or chase after them? And what I probably should have done was regrouped with my ally. So that, because he's probably going to get double teamed, they're probably going to take him out in some manner like that. But what I'm actually planning on doing is moving forward to the next sniping position, which is over here on the right. These bushes over here. Which was probably unnecessary. I probably should have communicated with the Panzer and told him to regroup to the location where I am, where we could come up with a plan. So that we could at least cover each other. We really should have ridden up together. Now the enemy should know where I am. As you can see, they are at our base, so somehow they did, whatever route they took to get there, they picked the correct route. And if I had stayed at my original point, I probably would have noticed them, and I probably would have been able to take shots on them. So I do know that there's 1 Artie at their base, there's at least 1 tank at our base, and I know that the Matilda is a slow tank. However, our heavy tank drove to the location where the Matilda was and did not spot him. So the Matilda has gone somewhere else. If my ally stays alive, I don't have any problem. I'm sure we can win this game. Now, obviously, I have a situation here where it's difficult to get back to the base in time. I know I could get back to that base and get at least one shot in. However, it's worth it to take a peek over here. You want to take a peek to see if you can spot the guy on the base. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's going to work because the guy that's at the base doesn't know. You know, I have really good view range. He probably doesn't have good camo. He wasn't hiding properly. I'm pretty sure I'm going to spot him. So you want to spot from these bushes, or there's another location, which I believe is right here where this tank is. You see that there's a little gap, and there's bushes over here. That would be the secondary choice. You don't want to go around this way where the road is. That's the long way. This is going to be your first choice, which is to spot through here. Your second choice is going to be to go to this bush over here, go through the gap, and then drive down beneath. Okay, so you can see that he's running in circles. Lousy shots. Now you want to hit him exactly where I did. You want to hit him in this side or on this side, not when he's driving across. You can see that the shots that I made while he was driving across, I missed. But when he was driving towards me, I was able to hit him. And when he's driving away from me, I would also be able to hit him. So I did reset the cap.
Critical hit.
As you can see, I did make a mistake, which was I continued firing at him. We are capping them, but that's not going to matter. So he knew that he would get hit, so he decided to hide. Now I have to go after him. And I tried to reset the cap from here, but it did not. Oh, it looks like it did work. I did reset the cap. It looks like either that or he got off the cap. I don't know. So again, the faster way would have been to go over through these bushes, and usually that's the way I go. But I must have forgotten this time. It was a very nerve-wracking game for me. I was really worried. Their Matilda must still be at their base to reset the cap, because I'm pretty sure my ally is going to die. They've only got 5 rounds left. Okay, so their Matilda just showed up on the map. So the Matilda is over there, and they're probably going to duke it out. Ideally, you don't want to use the auto aim in this type of a situation. First of all, I don't know if I'm spotted or not. When you spot somebody and you're in this type of a situation, one of the best things you can do is immediately stop, because I might spot him before he spots me. The chances that we spot each other at exactly the same time is actually very low. So as soon as you spot the enemy, stop immediately and take your shots, but that's not what I did.
Enemy armor is hit. Critical hit. Ready to fire.
Now you can see I only have high explosive rounds left.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
And I was able to kill him with my last shot. So I have no ammunition at this point. And there's 2 tanks left in the game. My ally is dead. And I sent a message that I have no more ammo. And probably what I should have done, I probably should have gone to the enemy base to cap. It was really my only choice. I'm thinking in my mind, when they get here, I'm going to ram them and try and reset the cap, which is going to fail, and I'm going to advance the game a little bit. Okay, so basically what happened is I know that they're on the cap right now. Or, okay, there's the Matilda. So the Matilda has been spotted. But perhaps I was not spotted. So what I decided to do was take up a position behind the cap. And my plan was that I was going to charge in, wait for them to run up the cap meter, charge in and try and ram, to do some ramming damage, to reset the cap meter and hope to not die. Against the artillery, I know I'd be able to succeed. Against 2 tanks, I think it would be a little bit more difficult. So I decided to sit here and wait. I'm going to advance the game. You can see that they're now capping. I'm going to advance it a little more. So I've advanced the game. They're now at the 54%. And the reason why I didn't wait till 90, because I knew that I had a very low chance of success. And because I knew that if there's 3 minutes and a half left in the game, the ramming technique, I'd have to do it 3 times in order for it to succeed. And I thought it was very unlikely that I'd be able to ram them, hide, and then ram them and hide again. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go in right now, see what happens. So I did reset the cap. I knocked 50 points off the cap. I had no more ammo. I did have 5 kills. This is the second time that I had run out of ammo at a key point in the game where I really wish I had more ammo. The other one was a game with the Locust 3. And what I realized is that if you have a rapid-fire gun and you don't have a lot of ammo, it is something you should really be concerned about, especially once you become a better player. Once you become a better player and you're more likely to survive and last longer in the game, you increase the chance that you will run out of ammo with certain tanks. So it's something that you might not have to worry about if you're a beginner player, but once you become a better player, it is definitely something that you have to pay attention to. Okay, so that's the game. It's the Valentine 2. I got 5 kills. I'm sorry that there was no strategy. I spent most of my time sniping. Normally I don't play like this. It just happened because of circumstance. So I'm going to recap. It's mostly a light tank game. Most of my team went to the west side. Most of them apparently were not paying attention to the mini-map. Most of the enemy team went to the middle. I did take up a sniping position. It worked out really well. Somehow I was spotted, perhaps by a proximity spotter. I'm not sure exactly why. Or perhaps through the gap in the bushes. It worked out very well. I was able to get a really high score. I did waste a few shots that I either missed the enemy or they did not penetrate tanks that were perhaps too far away, or I was using the wrong ammo. And at the end, I had to confront 2 tanks and I had no ammo. My only alternative, capping them, would not have worked. As you can see, they did go to our cap, and I would not have been able to cap them. But I think the biggest failure in the game was not teaming up with my ally. I probably should have tried my best to keep him alive. If we had kept him alive, he probably would have had enough ammunition to help defend the rest of the game. So a failure to communicate with the ally was a big mistake that I made. Okay, so that's the game. It's the Valentine 2. It's a Russian Tier 4 premium tank. I do recommend this tank. It's a light tank. I do have a lot of games where I get 5 kills or 6 kills with this tank. In fact, often, I would say the majority of the time, I get lots of kills with this tank. It has great armor. It's a moderate speed. In terms of should you buy this tank, I would say don't make it your highest priority. It's not a typical light tank. If you love light tanks, it lacks the speed, but it makes up for it in armor. It's a moderate speed, and I would say that I don't know much about. I don't think there's a lot of Tier 4 premium tanks, but I do know that the Tier 4 premium tank selection is not very good. So at this point, I'm not going to make a recommendation for whether you should buy another Tier 4 tank. But I would say a Matilda, I believe it's a Tier 5 Matilda 4, is a better choice over the Valentine or the Matilda BP. If you have a choice between those tanks, try to get the Matilda BP or the Matilda 4. They are far better and more fun to play than the Valentine 2. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments, please post below.